got involved, like I said, I did some classes for 2 years, off and on while I was in high school. And here's the other factor about that. The beginning level services of Scientology or the introductory things with any cult make some sense, because nobody would get involved with it if it didn't. The very first class that I ever did in Scientology was a communications course. I was 15 years old. I walked in there thinking that this wasn't going to be the thing for me. I mean, my parents, yeah, sure, but not for me. And they sat me down, and I did one of these personality tests, and they come up with this graph, and it's your personality all plotted out. And they convinced me, without a whole lot of needing to convince me, because I was 15 years old, that I was shy, I was introverted, and I had a hard time talking to girls, which was very true. All of those things, 100% across the boards. And I had this very good-looking blonde woman telling me, well, you know, that's ruining your life. That's what they're looking for, is the thing that's ruining your life. And in Scientology terms, they call it your ruin. And every single person who walks in the door, that's what they want to find. Because there's very few of us who have perfect lives. I think most people would look at some part of our life and go, yeah, I think there's something I'd like to change or improve, you know, to make my life better. That's the thing that they hook you with. They find out what that is, and they ask you 200 of the craziest questions to get this graph to figure that out, right? And this graph comes out with traits like how communicative you are, how happy you are, how responsible you are, how well you get along with others. All of this is shown very scientifically on this graph, right? Very, very scientifically. So, sarcasm, but. So with this graph and with this ruin that I had called communication, right? It's like, yes, I can communicate and I want to ask girls out and I want to be able to communicate better. They said, great. And this was where they got me. She looks at me and she goes, we have a class that will handle that. And I just about fell out of my chair, because I've been living with this ruin for years, and here's somebody offering me a $50 class that will handle it. It will go away. You will no longer have that problem. Sign me up right now, right? And which is, of course, what happened. And I did this communications class, and I'm not going to lie, it helped. It was very common sense principles. It was, you know, being able to talk. It was look somebody in the eye when you're talking to them. It was, you know, there were drills, there were practical exercises that you do so to overcome shyness or embarrassment or things like that, right? And when I went back to school following that summer, people noticed I was different. And that, you know, all right? So that was pretty good. And I was into that. And so Scientology works. Right? Because you get this first thing and you go, well, that worked. Now, for those of you who might be familiar with any of this, there's no Xenu, there's no space aliens, there's no even past life stuff to start with. None of that enters into it. It's just communication, or it's just study, or it's just your marriage, or it's just your job, or whatever the individual thing is for you. That's all Scientology is for you when you start. You get hooked on this thing, and not everybody does. Some people come in, they do the first class, and they go, no, and you never see them again. But for those who stay, it's because it did something for them. Then they offer you the next class, and they never trip up on what your next class or your next service is going to be. They got it all laid out. So you do the next class, and maybe that first class was $50. Well, this next one is 75. But hey, that communication really helped, right? Oh, absolutely, good. Well, then let's go. And you do the next one and the next one, and before you know it, you're paying $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a pop for these services as you're progressing up this ladder of services that they offer. They offer classes, and they offer individual counseling services, which they call auditing.